control flow statements. Control flow statements or control flow is how your code runs from the top to bottom. That includes choosing paths or repeating code blocks based on certain conditions. We've got very many types of control flow statements, and to begin with, we've got what we call the if statement. So what does the if statement do? The if statement runs the code only if a condition is true. For example, if we let age equal to this is age. If we let age equal to 20, if we let age equal to 20, and we say if age is greater or equal to 18, we could execute or console.log you are an adult, and this is an if statement. And at certain point, if we go onto our console, okay, you have here you are an adult because right here age is above 18. It's 18 and above, I should say. If we do have like age equaling to 12, we will have here a condition, and we say you are young. This is 12. Could say here you are young, and checking onto our console. Okay, if age is less than 18, we should say we have here okay, this is less, you are young. So that is what the if statement does. Then we've got the if else statement. For example, let me first do this. This is called the if else statement. So the if else statement, if a condition is false, it returns something, and if it's right, it also returns or runs another block of code. For example, we could say we could just use this same condition where we have age being 12, and we could say that if age is less than 18, we could say is greater or equal to 18. We could say console.log you are an adult, and then we could add an else and say console.log you are a minor. So what this does is it looks onto our value of age, and that is 12, and if a condition, if it fulfills the condition that it's equal or greater than 18, you will see it's equal to an adult, and if this condition is not met, it will render the rest as to be you are a minor. It means you're not 18 and above, you are young. That's what the else if does. Then we've got what we call the else if. Else if is used for more than two options. For example, we can relate this to scores. Let's say we could say score equal to 75. If we have more than two conditions, for example, I could say if score is greater or equal to 90, we would return or run a certain block of code. You could just console.log I could console.log this is an A, and then we would use else if we get another condition, if score is greater or equal to 80, and then we would say console.log, this is a B. So what this does is we've got more than one condition, so we would say maybe another condition, else if we would say score is greater or equal to 70, we would say we would console.log, this is a C, and we would say the rest, else, that is the concluding bit of it, would say else console.log fail. So if you do not have above 70, it means you failed. So what this does, it looks at our value of a score. If it is 90 and above, we get an A. If it is 80 and above, we get a B, and if it is 70 and above, that's a C, and if you've got less than 70, that would be a fail. So we will look at what we do have here, and that is a C because we have a 75. So what if we have 90, 98, do have 98, that's an A. And what if we have a 45? If it is 45, then that is a fail. So that's what it does, it checks if the condition does not meet any of what we have, it will make that a fail. The other condition to look out to is what we call the switch statement. So what the switch statement does, it cleans away, it's a cleaner for many cases. That's, for example, if we do have fruits, let's say we have, should we say fruit, we could say a single fruit, let's say a single fruit called an apple. We come and say a switch, sorry, we could say switch, and we are switching a fruit, and we would say switch, and we are switching a fruit. So what we do is we would say the first case is if it is an apple, what happens, we execute a certain block of code. If it is an apple, we console.log, we could say apples are sweet, and after doing this we can do what we call break. Okay, so if this condition is not met, we check for another condition. For example, if it is a banana, we would say we could console.log bananas are sweet, bananas are sweet, bananas are yellow, I should say, bananas are yellow. And then after this we can break as well. If we find this condition is true, we don't look at the rest of the options we have down. Then I've got what we call default. This is what happens when our program does not meet any of the conditions above. Sorry, got a default, and the default will always be what you need to display in case that condition is not met. And we would say this, can we say unknown fruit, because we do not have a fruit, so we don't have a condition for it, so it's an unknown fruit. So we are going to check this out on our console. Apples are sweet because this is an apple. In case I use a banana, we will see this is bananas are yellow, and if I put a fruit that does not exist, for example orange, I will get unknown fruit because orange is not within our fruits that we are looking at. Then, and the other thing to look at, we shall look at also loops. So loops, or basically loops are used to repeat things, that repeat a set of number or set a number, a certain number of times, I should say. We've got what we call the for loop, and for loop is basically used when you know how many times to return. For example, we could say we could say, and we initialize an I equaling to 1, and then say we need we initialize, we set a condition. This could be less or equal to 5. I would say I plus plus. Okay. So after looking at such a condition, we look through all the values until then we can console.log count, and we would say I. Let's just look at what this gives us. So what this will do, we have 1 up to 5. So what this will do, it will look at the initial value of I, that is 1, and then it will keep consoling or writing on the console values of I for as long as I is not or for as long as I is in the range of 1 to 5. So it will keep incrementing, that is the I plus plus, and this is what we call the for loop. For the other loop we do have is called the while loop. So a while loop is used to repeat while a condition is true. For example, we would say we would let I equal to 1. After initializing I, we would check a condition and say while I is less, I should say less or equal to 5. What happens when I is less or equal to 5? We need something to happen, and what is that? We can console.log. I would say while count. Can we just give this some quotes? I would say while count, and we could say this I. So we are going to console I for as long as I is not less or is not less than 5. Or okay, for as long as Y is still less or equal to 5, that is, if it's not beyond 5, we shall keep consoling this. So what happens is we'll say we need to add for every round our loop goes, we need to be adding I. So if I is 1, it will console.log 1, and then it will add 1 onto 1, and then it will again perform another loop, and we'll get to still add the 1 to get 3, and it will keep continuing until I is 5. That's when our loop will stop. So when we do look at our console, okay, we do have 1 to 5. So we have 1 to 5, so it will keep adding until 1 is equal to 5. That's the while loop. Then we have another loop, and that's called the do while loop. So what does the do while loop? What the do while loop does, it's almost the same as the while loop, but then we first assign what to run before we get the condition. For example, we could select, should we use I? Let's use j. We could select j equal to 1, and then we could command the computer to, or we could run our code. I say do console.log do count, or just count. We could say count, and we would say j. That is, we do that and we increment j while then we pass in our condition while j is less or equal to 5. So we do run our code for as long as j is less or equal to 5. Okay, do we have an error here? Okay, we do have this. So what the program will do is it will look at our I, and it will run this script for as long as j is not beyond 5. Still getting some issues here. Okay, have j equal to 1. Do we have here? Let's do console.log count. This should be like this. Let's see what error we're getting. Expected, unexpected token. I would just remove this. What do we have? Okay, let me see what we have. Unexpected token. Okay, let's first remove this. We say do, and this we could say while okay, we do write our condition here. We do console.log this is do count. Okay, we are counting j, and this is while, then we do say we increment j given a condition that j is less or equal to 5. Okay, I think, let me see. Okay, so this is it, and when you do check this on our console, we'll have count up to 5. So it will stop at 5. In case I add like 8, I will have up to 8, because it does count, it does add 1 on at every round until j is equal to 8. That's the do while loop. We've got the break. The break normally exits the loop early. For example, if we do have we could say for let, and we say I equal to 1, and set another condition for I to be less or equal to 10. We could increase, could say I plus plus. So we could say if we would say if I is equal to 5, then we shall break. So if I is equal to 5, so it will run this loop, and when it reaches onto 5, it will stop, and our program will stop at this. Let's console.log I and see. Look at this. We will run our code, our program will run up to 4 and break out on 5. That's for that is the break statement. We've got the continue, and the continue is used to skip one loop iteration. For example, I don't normally use this, but I think it's okay for you to know this. We could say for let I equal to 1, and we could say I this equal to 5. You would have left what we used, I think so. Let's use this. So what this does is, if let's say 3, if it reaches 3, we don't need to break. This time we need to continue, and this will skip our 3. It means it won't console 3, and it will continue until this condition up here is fulfilled. When we do check, we don't expect 3 in our terminal here, and that is it. That's the continue. What it does, it skips a certain condition and then proceeds, unlike the break, which stops the program when a certain condition is met. The other thing is look at how we can I think that's all, but then we can do something to practice this. For example, we could use a pass or fail checker. That is, for example, we could say let, and we could say max equal to, this is an array of max 60, 50, can we say 90, 30, and 45. That's, I think, okay. So we are going to check if a certain condition is right and either pass a student or fail a student. For example, we would say if let's use for we could say let I equal to 0. We're initializing I equal to 0, and we would say if I equal to 0, we set a condition of I being less than max dot length, and we would say we increment I is I plus plus. Okay, after setting that, we would say if the max this is at I, that is if a certain mark is greater or equal to 50, what do? We console.log could get this. So we are looking at I is the mark, I mean the length, and we would say if a mark is greater or equal to 50, we can console.log we can use backticks and say student. I would say student, I would pass this as a variable. I would say I plus 1, I should say, and you can say this is pass, and then we could use an else statement and say else console.log. We would pass in the same thing here, get all this, copy it into all this, and say student is fail. So what condition are we checking for here? let's go to our terminal and see. Okay, if a student gets mark at index 1, that is at 1, we've got 1 2 3 4 5, and this is 1 2 3 4 5. So we've got different points in our program, and we've got marks from 1 up to 5. If a student so if a student gets marks, if a student gets marks above 50, that student passes, and if a student gets less than 50, that student fails. That's what we are checking. And looking at all this, we could show that once you get 2 marks, that is 2 marks, that is marks at position 4 and 5, mark 4 and mark 5, that is 30 and 45, that's an automatic fail. And from 1 up to 3, that is a pass. So you could take it to another level and practice this. You could create a simple calculator. You could create a condition to assign grades to students. That is, you check the students' marks and you assign